captain to make him aware of what I had found.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm going
You're
to...
going to start to present those photos?
No,
Okay.
not the one, just the one, just one.
Okay, but I just want to tell the jurors, so you're going to start to see some photos at this time from where the victim decedent was found. Obviously, that's what the deputy is describing right now. And so what the state of Ohio will do, just to continue to move the case forward, is they will place the photo on the screen, the witness will identify it, you'll be able to view it, and then it will be removed. And we'll just be as efficient as we can as we move through the process. So we appreciate your cooperation. And with that, I'm sure you'll move as efficient and empathetic as possible. Thank you very much.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 55. You recognize that photo?
So that's 55, correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay, very good.
And is that what you detailed to the court just now?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Attorney Easter.
You said you stated after you found the car, after you found the deceased body, you called your captain.
I did.
Did other individuals come to the scene?
Yes. After contacting him, I then contacted New Franklin Police Department, where I made them aware that I had located the vehicle.
All right, crime scene photos, of course, we're not showing those. We're going to slip in a quick break. We'll get you back into the...
All right. Welcome, everyone. Let me give you my intro. All right. While we wait for court to be back in session. So I figured I'd stream it a little because I find trials fucking boring as hell. But maybe if there's more, maybe if I stream it, it won't be as boring. So, but this is like a really good trial. I'm like really into it. So, good morning, everyone. And court is on break. Or at least the channel I'm streaming it from is on break. Because I can't stream it from YouTube, and I can't stream it directly from Court TV. So, we're trying a new route. But a really interesting trial, we'll say that. Girl's an idiot. And it was so young. She was 37 when she was arrested last year for something that happened in 2012. So she was in her 20s. So the ex-girlfriend of Cobb, Stefanko's husband at the time, Stefanko is accused of making a bogus pizza delivery call that lured Briggs into the New Franklin business where she was killed. Police said Cobb ambushed the woman, striking her in the head before strangling her with a 4-foot-long plastic zip tie. He placed Biggs' body inside her car and drove to Chippewa Township, where he abandoned the vehicle. Stefanko was charged with aggravated murder and several other offenses. Cobb, Stefanko's now ex-husband, pleaded guilty to aggravated murder and several other crimes in the death of Biggs. Biggs, 25, was the mother of the then 6-year-old daughter, and the two were in a custody dispute. Cobb, 38, was sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole in 2013. He originally faced the death penalty. So there's an update for newbies who don't know what the trial is about. And We're just waiting for court to get back in session. Judge Laura is here. What's up, Brad Story? Oh, my back hurts. I woke up, my back was like killing me. Oh, it's bad. So I figure I'll sit and stretch a little. I don't think I can run the whole trial, though. I don't have the time. Court TV has more fucking commercials than anyone I've ever seen. It's crazy. Your neck hurts. Oh, no. Oh, here comes Fluffer. Here comes Fluffer. Fluffer the badass. Alright. Shut up, Fluffer.
Seeing the crime scene photos of Ashley Biggs laying in the back of her car. Now we have a new witness coming to the stand. The deputy, Steve Browning, was very quick. They showed a few photos, and there was only one question on cross, and that question was there anybody else there? Did you see anybody else? And he said no, and that was it for cross-examination. So let's bring in Molly Parmer, and as we wait for the next witness, Molly, your take on what we've seen so far is just this is sort of just the housekeeping part of the state's case.
Yeah, it is just the housekeeping part, but at the same time, it's important, and we're kind of redirecting from Chad's testimony yesterday that was, you know, a little bit distracting.
Yeah, and now apparently the next witness is not available right now, so they are sending the jury out. Let's see if the judge has anything to say to the attorneys outside the presence of the jury. It doesn't appear she's still on the bench. Let's listen in, see if she says anything.
All right, very good. We'll keep this on. Christy, thanks. All right, so we had Staley up next, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so Attorney Easter, this morning, the officer indicates that he had a possible exposure last Tuesday.
That is correct.
Okay, and I know you were going to ask about details. Right now, he is not here in our waiting room. So that would have been Tuesday, November 10th.
That is correct.
Did you have, I know you also indicated earlier, before you had the chance to get additional details, he himself said he didn't have any symptoms, but in any event, so that would have been Tuesday the 10th. Were you able to find out additional details about that possible exposure?
I did, Your Honor.
Okay.
Detective Staley stated last Tuesday he was working in Columbus, Ohio on a case where, trying to be as general, there's on a case. That case brought him into contact with a funeral home, and he was processing a vehicle. In the vehicle were cremated remains, and there was a body bag. On the side of that body bag, it read COVID-19. There was no body in the body bag. There was no deceased individual in the body bag. However, he had been processing, he and others had been processing that vehicle for approximately 30 to 40 minutes, Your Honor. Since then, he has had no symptoms. He has had no fever. And I did not ask if he was tested. However, Detective Hitchens just wanted to ask that question. He did go through the court's check this morning for fever and all of that, Your Honor. But that is the extent of Special Agent Staley's possible contact.
Okay. With whom is Special Agent Staley employed?
The Bureau of Criminal Identification and Investigation.
BCI, the Attorney General's office?
Correct.
Do you know, after that exposure, did he tell you, was he ever tested for the virus?
Hitchens is go ahead and ask.
Oh, he's going to ask him that?
Other side and the other-
Okay, all right. And then I'm sure, I mean, he works for the Ohio Attorney General's office. I'm sure they have protocol.
Yes.
So why don't you find out those additional details? Once we have that, if necessary, I may have you contact the Summit County Public Health Department just to make certain that we're in accordance with our protocol. And then we'll just go from there. If by some chance it's determined that he needs to testify remote, who would be the state's next witness at this time?
Special Agent Soraya, and he is to come in at 10:30. We can try and give him a call.
Okay, do you want to also call him and just see if he's, does he work for BCI?
He does.
Okay, and maybe you can see in advance if he has the same concern. And again, this serves as a reminder to us, which is why scheduling of witnesses is very important. So in advance, we can make certain that we follow all of the protective measures to keep everyone safe here. So you let my staff know once you have an update. Thank you.
All right, well, it appears as though the next witness, Special Agent Staley, had some COVID exposure 10 days ago, where he was processing a car of some sort and came across a body bag that had COVID-19 written on it, no symptoms. However, they're ironing that out. Looks like the defendant will stay in the courtroom while that takes place. Otherwise, the next witness is not expected to come to the courthouse until 10:30 Eastern time, so just over a half hour from now. So, Molly Parmer, this is the world we live in. All in all,
All right, so we got a half hour to kill. Come on, she looks like a stripper. An ex-stripper, I should say. You can't deny that. But remember the girl, the journalist that takes it up the butt? She looks amazing. Her mouth is still too tight, but she looks amazing. She was on with old dude yesterday. The one that's been around forever. I forgot his name. Vic, whatever his name is. The Italian dude with the gray hair. He was on with her. She looks really good. Yeah, if you don't know me and you don't know the story, you're going to think it's a little weird. But you have to know the story. What's up, Red Dragon? So we're streaming the trial. The update is that a witness has COVID or was around somebody with COVID. So there's no witness for a half hour. So I don't know what we're talking about for a half hour. I really don't have much to talk about. Trying to cap out on the stream from last night. Yeah, last night, Vinny Politano, whatever. Let me see if I can find her. Hold on, I have to shoot over to Court TV. But she does. She looks really good. Rapper Lil Wayne charged with federal gun offense. Ooh, did you know that? Skylar Richardson released from probation sentence. Oh, she got off scot-free. Hold on.
Dan, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Great to have you aboard. You know, former high school cheerleader Skylar Richardson tonight is free from probation. Of course, you remember Court TV brought you gavel-to-gavel coverage last year of her.
Now, let me say something about this case. I absolutely believe, well, let me rephrase that. I absolutely do not believe in white privilege. This girl is white privilege. How she got off on this when other people go to jail for the rest of their life, I have no idea. But she killed her baby. I heard about that last night, Liz. I haven't looked into it, though. She killed her baby because she was too scared to have a baby, didn't want to tell her mom, so she murdered her baby, only got 3 years probation, and now she's off. God, that trial feels like it was yesterday. She was sentenced to serve a 3-year probation after she was convicted on the bottom charge of indictment, which was abuse of a corpse. She was acquitted of the murder.
Her murder trial in Ohio, she was sentenced to serve 3 years on probation after she was convicted on the bottom charge of the indictment, which was abuse of a corpse. She was acquitted of the most serious charges of aggravated murder, involuntary manslaughter,
I can't believe she got off.
Prosecutors argued that Skylar Richardson hid her unwanted pregnancy, killed her baby, and buried the body in the backyard just days after her senior prom back in 2017. They say she did it so that she could get on with her, quote, perfect life. Well, Richardson maintained the baby was stillborn, but she did admit to burying the baby in her backyard.
She served 14 months, and now they're letting her off. Yes, the cheerleader girl who gave birth in the bedroom. They're letting her off. 14 months. What's up, Ash? They couldn't prove she killed the baby, that's why. Yeah, they couldn't decide if the baby was burned. Ash, there must have been I was in my other stream, my other channel, to see if somebody was blocked, and it looked like you were blocked, but it's a different thing. The different icon. So maybe it was a fake of you.
Now, after serving about 14 months of the 3-year probation sentence, Skylar Richardson went to court this morning to explain her reasons for asking the court to terminate her probation. Let's take a listen.
I just want to make everything right again as much as I can, so I do apologize. I never know if it's appropriate to reach out because I never know who wants to hear from me. But I am really sorry. I just want to
Morning, Mandy.
fulfill my educational goals, and with my probation being terminated, I just want to be able to go to law school one day. And so I can become a public defender, and so I was hoping I could get my probation terminated so I could continue to further those educational career goals. But again, I understand that it has not been a long amount of time, but I want to be able to contribute to society as much as I can and be able to prove that you made the right decision and giving me the opportunity to go back out into society. So, again, I apologize to everyone that I've affected.
Law school. It's not the first time that this has happened. I've seen this in other cases where sometimes it's victims that have been motivated and sometimes it is defendants. All right, well, the judge granted Skylar Richardson's request, and joining me now to discuss what happened today and what it all means, Court TV special contributor Ashley Banfield. Wow.
Law school, I know. But you know what? I'm actually not surprised given what I learned about her recent education. She's been in college, and in the last 2 semesters, she's averaged a 3.8, but in the semester that was most recent, she's had a 4.0, all while she's also doing about 10 hours a week in a law firm working. She's also doing mental health, regular maintenance visits and counseling. And I gotta say, Vinny, for all the vitriol for those in the community who were outraged, first that the verdict was not guilty. I mean, she was facing aggravated manslaughter and life, right, behind bars. Instead, she was convicted instead of just this lowest charge, abuse of a corpse, and given this 3-year probationary sentence, which is called community control. Look at the reaction. I watched that, and that you can't fake that. That's not phony. That's a broken person. And so for all the community reaction out there that might be angry that they think Skylar is skating, isn't this what we're supposed to do? I mean, isn't this what the system is supposed to do? Aren't we supposed to see people rehabilitate, fix themselves up, and really want to do well in the community, stand in front of a judge with real tears, not crocodile fako tears, and apologize and say, I could do better. I know I need to do better. I want to do better. I want to be a public defender. And it's not like she wants to go into law to make a whole bunch of money. She wants to go into law to be a public defender, she said. I know there's people out there throwing peanuts at the TV saying, oh, you're such a sucker. Not always. I see a lot of this. And
That's me. I'm throwing peanuts at the TV saying, wow, this is white privilege at its finest. This is exactly what white privilege is. Rich girl, good lawyer, gets off with no problem at all. A year of probation, kill your baby, have a baby in your bedroom, don't tell anybody, bury it in the backyard, and have all these problems, but, you know, say you want to be a lawyer and you're off probation in a year. Wonderful role model for other rich kids. Just saying.
And that's a reaction I don't normally see. And again, if this is fake, well, then she shouldn't go to law school. She should go straight to Hollywood because it's really, really good. So my point, Vinny, is that...
Okay, let me just say this. If I am going to prison, if I'm facing life in prison, and I just got acquitted because I killed a baby that I didn't want in the first place, but was too scared to tell my mom and dad, you bet your ass you're going to see real tears if I get off. You're going to see nothing but real tears.
Maybe this is the right decision where the judge today said, okay, I'll release you from the next little less than 2 years of community control because you came in here with the right stuff, right stories, right everything. I mean, do you disagree, Vinny?
That's what good lawyers do, Missy. They tell you exactly what to say. They tell you exactly how to say it. That's why you hire a good lawyer. That's what happens when you have money. I mean, she can't really be convincing herself that it's okay.
Do you have that?
No. Because you have to be in the system. Like, there used to be Fridays were sentencing days when I was a prosecutor, and it was one after the other. You walk in with a stack this high, and
the trial started already. What happened was one of the next juror. I'm sorry, not juror. The next witness was in touch with COVID or whatever, so they put it on hold for a half hour. So I went over to Court TV to see what was happening, and here we are.
Look for people that were trying to do, and you're just reaching for some morsel of like normal, turn your life around kind of stuff. And anytime it would happen, the judge would celebrate it and try to motivate the person to do more. I mean, you don't get people coming in with a 4-0 on sentencing day or
come on.
violation of probation or a motion to reconsider. It just doesn't happen. So this is like the outlier. So to me, it's the right call if you look at it in the context of every criminal defendant that comes in front of this judge.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot, right? And I know the crocodile fako tears when I get them. I know it. I can see it. And I know you can too. And I know our viewers can. They're no dummies. They know exactly what's up. And let's just remember, we're also dealing with a 21-year-old right now who was 16-ish, 17-ish when going through the whole series of events that led her to this moment, right? So we're not talking about some seasoned adult who orchestrated some crime because she was living a life of crime.
Are they really trying to convince themselves that this rich little white girl kills her baby at 16, 17 because she didn't want a baby, and they're really trying to convince herself that this is perfectly okay? I can't with these people. White privilege at its finest, and I don't even believe in white privilege, but this is it. Right here, this is it. This is white privilege at its finest. Sad.
She was a good kid. Did a really bad thing. And maybe not as bad a thing as a lot of people believed she did, but she certainly is trying to fix it and be right by what the court has done for her. So listen, I wanted to find out a lot more about, she's really kind of mystifying to me. So I checked in with her attorney, Charlie Ritkers, and you've seen him. He was actually on Court TV yesterday doing analysis for us. He was in court with her.
Here we go.
He stood by, he and his father at the law firm. She's working at their law firm as well. So he has some pretty good insight into this young lady, and I asked all the questions. Have a listen. Thank you for doing this, Charlie. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
So Charlie, tell me, how is your client doing?
She's doing well. Skylar, from the beginning of the case, we talked about this, but she really does grieve silently. And, I've had a lot of conversations with her family, and they're still worried about her because I think she's still going through the grieving process from a tragic, horrible loss.
So she got good news. Obviously, being released from community control will change things profoundly with her. Explain how things will be different for her.
Sure. So when you're on community control, which is also known as probation, at least in Ohio, on a low-level felony, Skylar had to check in with her probation officer anytime she left the state of Ohio. There were certain rules and requirements of her that were very easy for her to keep. However, you do have a little bit of a cloud hanging over your head, knowing that you're on probation and that there's a suspended prison sentence. And it doesn't help a person, anyone, but certainly not a person who has an eating disorder and the added anxiety of the trial and probation hanging over her head. So this decision by the judge really gives her some closure. And also,
Okay, so let me say this. Based on his own theory, so that means that somebody who commits murder while they're anorexic shouldn't be held to the same standard as someone who's not anorexic. I can't buy this. This is white privilege at its finest. This is why so many blacks say that, they get unfair sentences. Let a black person do the exact same thing, she'd be sitting in jail. Hands down. This is like crazy to me. I know they couldn't prove it, but she still buried her baby in the backyard. She still gave birth to a baby in her bedroom. And yeah, that baby, there's no reason why that baby would be dead to begin with. I'm not buying it to begin with.
it starts the clock so that 3 years from today, she will be eligible to seal her record, which is also very, very important for Skylar.
Oh, and she gets a sealed record.
How so? I heard her say in court she wants to pursue a law degree, maybe in
All right, trial's back on.
So you are the actual person who perpetrated this crime. And I think it all kind of goes to motive, right? I think he has a lot of reasons to be very upset with Ms. Stefanko. And so he's just going to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. But ultimately, no credibility with Chad Cobb, none.
So how do you deal with him as the state in closing? How do you address him with the jury? Do you say, listen, we get that you can't take everything he says as gospel, but his basic storyline that he couldn't have done this alone and he needed help,
live.
That does make sense. Is that, I mean, sort of what you have to do?
It's actually not back on. They're still discussing it. But I apologize if it echoes sometimes. It's because I forget to turn the microphone off. Hey, Sharon. Yeah, I was covering her last night, too. All right, let's go back to Court TV for a minute.
pursue a career as a public defender. Are these the reasons that she wants to seal the record, or are the reasons myriad? I mean, no one wants a record.
Correct. And I think specifically in Skylar's situation, she's in college, doing very, very well, which I think is not a surprise to anyone who knows her. And I think she will make an excellent attorney. And that is what she's determined she wants to do at this point in her life. And she wants to represent people who've been accused of crimes. And I think that she'll be a passionate advocate. Sealing her record will obviously get her closer to that goal.
What about the other part of the story that doesn't go away? The people who feel aggrieved. There's the community. Say what you will about how invested they are in the facts or the details or not, but there was a really large portion of the community outraged at this case. How will she navigate that going forward?
That's a good point. There, when you go through a high-profile case like this one, sadly, even after the jury verdict, which is jurors, as you know, are comprised of a cross-section of folks in the community who actually heard the evidence, and
He's a cute attorney.
A few feet away from people on the witness stand. And I believe that there is a minority, a small group of people who might still have some disdain and hatred in their hearts.
Exactly, Amanda. That's what I'm saying.
I also don't think that those folks watched and heard all the evidence in the case. Skylar will have to navigate that carefully, and that is why she has remained, I think, close to home, because she has comfort in her very close circle and has not expanded that circle since this incident occurred.
How is life, at home and in and around her immediate community? Originally, it was so volatile. I mean, there were really egregious protests that went on pointedly towards her and very close to her personal circle. Has that abated?
The online, as you would imagine, the folks on social media, and again, we're not talking about a large number of people in the community, but there are some hate groups on social media that we've been made aware of by very friendly folks who agree with the verdict. In fact, I can't speak for mail or messaging that Skylar might receive directly, but for me personally, and this happens anytime you have a high-profile case, I can tell you that 9 out of 10 direct communications coming to our office or to my email inbox are positive. And my hope is that that is also indicative of how the community feels about this verdict.
Is her safety a concern? I mean, I know it's not as though she's under house arrest necessarily. She's able to get out of the house, but that will become more frequent, and her horizons may expand wider. Is there any concern about her safety?
Have been provided this from Attorney Easter as well.
We're back.
It sounds as if, based on what she just told me, he was not exposed to anyone or any property where there was a confirmed case. It's a vehicle, I think you told me, that either had cremated remains in it or an empty body bag that had COVID-19 on it.
It was cremated, both were in there, cremated remains and an empty body bag with COVID-19 on the side.
Okay. But that's all he knows?
Correct.
And he told his supervisor?
That is correct.
Did he tell you when? I'm assuming that day?
Correct.
Okay. And the Attorney General's office hasn't had him subjected to COVID-19 testing?
That is correct. He did not hear anything back from his supervisors, and he's been working.
Okay. All right. What about Agent, who was the next one?
John Soraya?
Yes.
He is here now.
Oh, good. Is he in the same situation as Staley?
I forgot to ask him.
Yeah, let's cover that.
Do you want us to go ahead and make that call to the health department?
No, we'll go ahead with Soraya now, and then maybe we'll schedule some other witnesses. And then while we're doing that, perhaps your office can do that. I think it sounds as if it wasn't.
Okay, sounds like they're going to leapfrog over the COVID-19 potential.
I don't know why that just repeated. All right, let's see. All right, still on break.
Given that there are those people online and there are those people who are not online, they're just, out and about.
That's true. Today, I thankfully, the Warren County Sheriff's deputies had a little bit of increased security, and it was really at our request because a few people had tipped us off to some comments online that were fairly threatening. And the same groups and where these comments had been posted were talking about how they were going to be protesting at the courthouse today. there wasn't a single person at the courthouse today protesting. So I hope that that is a good sign that this can be put to rest and give everybody involved closure.
There were some comments made. I think the Associated Press quoted Tracy Johnson, who was the
Out to some people because she doesn't know if that communication is wanted. And from the statements that Ms. Johnson had made previously, I could tell you that my advice to Skylar would have been not to reach out. But then in court, just as Skylar did immediately after the verdict at the sentencing.
See, let me say, Val, all of these COVID cases are way up. So can we stop wearing this fucking mask? I don't get the whole point. She's still a mod, Capone. I'm waiting for her to pop in. I just don't get it. All these cases are up, yet they still make us wear the stupid mask that has done absolutely nothing. All right, let's see where Lauren Crime is. Hold on.
And just so you know, you will be prepared potentially to put on your case tomorrow afternoon. If any. Just start thinking about that in terms of scheduling, okay?
Yes, you
All right, very good. So I'll have my staff give the jurors an update. Does anybody have a question about what we're going to do now?
No,
Okay.
I think we got it.
All right, very good. And then remind me with Soraya, are there photographs that are sensitive?
Those are the ones that she has with Staley.
Okay. All right. So you will have certain photos with Soraya, just so that if you're going to, if you begin, so not Soraya.
Not Soraya.
Fair enough. Okay, good. All right, I'll tell the jurors, we'll bring them in at 10:30 for Soraya. Very good. Thank you.
All right, nothing's happening yet. Go back to my stream. Nothing.
Iron out where they are with these witnesses. Let's listen in.
Ask the court how you wanted me to kind of do that so that we're not back and forth. Recognize it by me holding it with
That's fair.
gloves, and then that way I don't have to pass it to him. I
That'd be
guess.
great.
Is that and that's
Sure, or you
suitable?
can use the Elmo. Okay.
Well, it's clothing and things of that nature.
Okay, sure. Fair enough. Okay, so we'll then call Soraya now, and then Attorney LaPrenzi, are you, real quick, you're going to direct Soraya, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so then Attorney Easter, while Attorney LaPrenzi is doing that, then what I'll have you do is, I may have you contact or have you step out and contact your office, just so that we have further clarification with Staley. LaPrenzi, now you're going to make certain with Soraya that he's not in the same situation as Staley.
Correct.
And then, who are your witnesses this afternoon?
Well, Dr. Kohler.
Okay, is Dr. Kohler, I think you said is at 1 o'clock?
Correct.
Okay, so probably between direct and cross 1 hour?
That's what I anticipated.
Okay. Who else?
And then after that would be Martin Lewis from BCI.
Lewis, okay.
And then based on discussions with Mr. O'Brien, it doesn't look like we're going to need the other BCI people.
Okay.
And so that would...
Well, Fred Powell, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. And then, so then the only other person we had was our phone records guy from Verizon.
Okay.
And for some reason, we can't seem, he hasn't responded recently.
Okay.
So we're trying to find out what's going on.
And then you would have
For him.
Detective Hitchings?
Yeah, I think that's,
That would be it?
yeah, but we would anticipate him tomorrow morning.
That's fair. Okay. Okay. Here's what I want you to do right now. You're going to prepare with Soraya to, how long do you think probably an hour between the two of you? If that?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure Mr. O'Brien's going to have a whole lot based on my knowledge of what's coming
Okay.
out. It's just more of a, keeping in mind we're still trying to prove that a murder, aggravated murder
Sure.
happened. And so it's
That's
just
fair.
taking the stuff out and maybe
Let me just say, I've never seen a defendant not face a judge. Usually a defendant is sitting where they're facing the judge and the jury, and her back is turned to the judge, which I find kind of odd. I've never seen that before. Usually a judge wants to look at a defendant.
Or he can provide additional details. And then you folks are going to make certain, especially with Lewis, BCI, Kohler, and Powell, if you're able to locate him or talk to him, whether there are any concerns about a potential exposure. And then we'll plan on Detective Hitchings tomorrow morning, his testimony, and then Attorney O'Brien, just so you know, you will be prepared potentially to put on your case tomorrow afternoon. If any. Just start thinking about that in terms of scheduling, okay?
Yes, sure.
All right, very good. So I'll have my staff give the jurors an update. Does anybody have a question about what we're going to do now?
No.
Okay.
I think we got it.
All right, very good. And then remind me with Soraya, are there photographs that are sensitive?
Those are the ones that she has with Skylar.
Okay. All right. So you will have certain photos with Soraya, just so that if you're going to, if you begin, so not Soraya.
Not Soraya.
Fair enough. Okay, good. All right, I'll tell the jurors, we'll bring them in at 10:30 for Soraya. Very good. Thank you.
Okay, so what we believe is going to be happening next, Molly Palmer, is that Staley is going to still be a backseat witness until they figure out his COVID exposure. It's a very bizarre story, isn't it? Processing a car, and he comes across a COVID-19 body bag 10 days ago, but it hasn't been tested, which is odd. What do you think? I love this judge, by the way. She's got enough anger that is seething out, but it's just, you can't see it. Maybe it's the sequin mask or just her Ashley Simpson look. I like but the way she's running the courtroom, she clearly wants this thing to move along. What's your take on all of this, and is it a real serious bump here, or is this just the world we're living in and no big deal?
Oh, it's so interesting because the state does need this evidence. We heard the prosecutor say to the judge, in terms of this aggravated battery charge, we need to get this in. We need this testimony from these crime scene law enforcement type witnesses who came, found the body, and want to talk about the manner in which they found the body. That goes to the aggravation. We've heard the description. We don't show the photos, but it sounds brutal, and they want to get this in for that aggravated murder charge. So it's crucial, But on the other hand, this is the day and age that we're in. We have, nobody in that courtroom, certainly not the judge, wants to risk a COVID exposure. And you're right, a very bizarre, set of facts as to how that witness was exposed. So they're trying to balance those issues. I think the state does have to bring in this testimony. And at the same time, I think this trial, they really wanted this one to go because it is an old case. It is from 2012. And so as soon as courts opened up in this county in Ohio, I think the judge and the prosecution, they wanted this one to go, and they're going to make this one go simply, and maybe for a number of reasons, but mostly because of how old this case is.
Yeah, and I'm sure a backlog in Summit County. I'm sure they got a bunch of other ones, and someone's got to go first, right, in this new world that we're living in. We also got a little clue that the state's almost done here. So it's going to be the police, the investigators, proving that there was a murder, and then they're done. Have they proven their case?
Yeah, I think in this situation, we're going to see, as they mentioned, just a few more witnesses. I think they're going to I don't think the medical examiner has testified yet. They referenced a doctor, and that's it. And I think the issue here for the jury, have they proven their case? I just don't think the jury has an alternative theory, right? Who else did this? And even with Chad Cobb's bizarre testimony that he was not the one who strangled the victim in this case, I think the jury is going to look at what they have in front of them and decide this complicity issue. And that's it for them. That is the determining factor in whether Stefanko goes down or not. And I think in this case, the level of involvement, that recorded conversation with Chad Cobb's mom, the compelling testimony of GC, the daughter of the victim, the jury, I think, is going to be left with no alternative theory as to how this happened and a pretty good indication that Stefanko did have that requisite complicity for a guilty verdict.
Yeah, he needed a ride. She was there, gave it to him. Someone needed to call for the pizza. She apparently did it, given the different sources that have testified to that fact. I think unless she takes the stand, she's in trouble. We're going to step aside, take a break. We'll be right back.
All right, I have a question. All right, here's my question, and I really mean this. Let's look at the case that we just looked at. Let's look at Erica Stefanko and Skylar Richardson. Skylar Richardson, there was no proof she killed her baby, but her baby was dead. Nobody else said they killed her. Nobody else said that they had anything to do with killing that baby. So Skylar Richardson gets off on a year probation. Then you have the other one. Then you have this one, Erica Stefanko. It's all hearsay that Erica was involved. It's hearsay from a 15-year-old. It's hearsay kind of out of her own mouth from the mom's testimony. But there's still no proof. She could have been a badass. She could have been trying to make the mom feel better or whatever. I do not think that the prosecution has proved their case. If a jury does what they're supposed to do, they will not charge her with murder. Making the phone call to lure her, like she was saying about an alternative theory. The alternative theory, though, is simple. The boyfriend, the husband did it. I mean, that's obvious. That's the husband admitted to it. Years later, because he has a bug up his ass, now he's trying to turn it around on her. Sorry, not buying it. I'm not saying she wasn't involved, but you can't decide 8 years later because there's something wrong that now you're going to get her involved. All along, he was saying that she wasn't involved. Now, all of a sudden, she's involved. Sorry, not buying it. I'm just not. There's just too much. And when you really look at it, he was the one that killed her. That's indescribable. I mean, that's indefensible. He is the one that killed her. He admitted it. He pled guilty to it. And he's serving the rest of his life in jail for it. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. It really will be. I'm not convinced that... I'm not saying she's not guilty. I'm sure she's guilty. But I'm just not buying what they're selling. Really. I'm just not. All about money and repellent in the state of Ohio. I know it's funny that both cases were from Ohio, too. He has a bug up his ass. No, that's not why, Zero. He had a bug up his ass because she stopped bringing the kids to him. She married his friend a month later. She was already pregnant by the time he got convicted. They asked him to turn state's evidence on her back in 2014, and he said no. So I don't know. It'll be very interesting if she gets convicted and what the sentence is. Now, another thing that I do not agree with at all. I don't agree with what they're doing about saying that, it's an old case. Yeah, it is an old case, but her part is brand new. So I don't really understand how they could say, oh, it's an old case, because you really can't. Because, I mean, yeah, it's an old case, but I don't know. Let's see what Ted Rowland says.
There was a plan to murder Ashley Biggs back in 2012. And they also talked about what he said about the defendant back in 2013 during his sentencing.
That I'm not sure, Jamie.
All right. Now, did you and Erica ever plan to kill Ashley Biggs?
No, sir.
This was from the other day, day 2. Hey, Mimi, you're bored?
At your sentencing, when Judge Jones asked you if you had anything to say,
No, I haven't, Val.
did you say anything about Erica?
At sentencing,
Yes, sir.
I told the judge that there's a lot that I need to say about this, but there's very little that I can.
I smell bacon.
Mr. Cobb,
Yes, sir.
I'm asking you specifically, at sentencing,
The monkey
did
butt.
you ever mention during your sentencing allocution anything about Erica Lyon?
Yeah, Sharon, she married his
I
best
said
friend.
There's a lot of things that need to be said, but there's so little that I can at that time.
Judge, can you instruct the witness to answer directly?
Well, Attorney O'Brien, I think he's answering your question. If you want to ask him directly, did he reference her name? You can do that. We'll see what his answer
Did you
is.
see the bruise on
Did
her
you
head?
mention Erica's name at sentencing?
No, sir.
All right, that was yesterday. Bombshell testimony yesterday from Chad Cobb. Today, they've been trying to work out some witness.
They're back live? Here we go. Yeah, they're going live again.
If you would please introduce yourself to the jury by telling them your full name, spell your first and last name for the court reporter, please.
My name is John Saraya, Saraya. I am a special agent with the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation.
And sir, how long have you been with the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation?
He's got an ugly tie.
About 23 years.
And we're going to, for convenience, because it's a mouthful, just call it BCI, okay?
Yes, sir.
And is that how it's commonly referred?
Yes, sir.
Prior to working at BCI, did you have any prior military or law enforcement experience?
I was a uniformed police officer with the Liberty Township Police Department in Youngstown for 9 years. Patrol officer, sergeant, detective, before I came to BCI.
And so as a detective, were you involved in the investigation of criminal activity?
Yes, sir. As well as when I was at the police department, I was assigned to the Trumbull County Homicide Task Force.
All right. So prior to even being with BCI,
I'm so jealous of
you,
FBI agents.
Worked as an investigator, detective on murder cases.
Yes, sir.
In order to do that job as a Liberty police officer, did you have to get certified?
We were provided training in crime scene processing, which is primarily what we did there on the task force, was to assist agencies in processing crime scenes of homicides, question deaths, things like that.
And actually, to be a law enforcement officer in the state of Ohio, did you have to get certified just to do that?
Yes, sir. I'm certified through the Ohio Peace Officer Training Council.
And for short, that would be OPATA?
Yes, sir.
And so, when did you get OPATA certified?
1987.
And have you maintained that certification in good standing until today?
Oh, yes, sir.
So, what year did you move to BCI?
I came to BCI in 1996.
And when you went to BCI, what unit were you in?
I came in and spent the first 12 years in the crime scene unit.
And then where did you go after that?
From crime scene, I went to our special investigations unit, which is kind of BCI's General Detective Bureau, working other investigations from cold cases to voter fraud to political corruption, whatever comes in.
And what year did you move to that division?
About 2008.
And how long were you there?
Up until 2015, when I moved over to our Crimes Against Children's unit.
And you've been there ever since?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In regards to your crime scene investigation, you already told us what training you had regarding the task force. Did you have any additional training when you went to BCI for crime scene investigation?
Oh, yes, sir. There was evidence tech classes, fingerprinting classes, blood spatter interpretation, advanced crime scene, medical legal investigation of death. There's a variety of classes.
And just so the jury has some concept of how much involvement you've had in crime scene investigation of homicides, approximately how many homicides have you been involved in investigating?
I could comfortably say over 300.
So let me go back and direct your attention to June 21st, 2012. At that time, you were not in the crime scene unit, were you?
No, sir, I was not.
You were in general investigation?
Yes, sir.
However, did you have an occasion to be called to Wayne County, Ohio?
Yes, sir.
Why were you involved or called into that investigation?
At the time, the investigation was complex and had multiple locations, and they needed help. Prior crime scene experience assisted in what was going on. They said, we're working on a search warrant. We have a couple scenes we need help with. Can you come out, lend a hand?
All right. So on that occasion, even though you were in the investigative unit, you were called in as extra help for crime scene processing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just so we're clear, your role at that time was as a crime scene processor. You were not doing any investigation specifically to figure out who done it, right?
No, sir.
Okay. So tell us, when did you first get involved, do you recall?
I have a copy of the report that I wrote at the time. We got down there, if I recall right, it was early evening. We got to the address. We waited because the search warrant had not been signed yet.
Okay.
So myself and another agent, Mark Kohler, were there. We waited. We had been in contact with other agents that were working other crime scenes and were more involved in the case as far as, is there anything we should be looking for? Is there anything you think we need? Is there, just trying to get communication down. It was about 9 o'clock when we got a phone call saying the warrant had been signed and we were good to start looking through the property.
And this was summertime, so the hours were later, the sunlight hours were longer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But it was getting close to getting dark, is that fair?
Yes, sir.
So you said to the scene, do you have, what was the actual location you went to?
The address was 15007 North Mount Eaton Road in Rittman in Wayne County.
During the period of time that you were waiting, was everybody basically just standing outside the front area of the home?
Yes, sir.
And then once you got the go, it was you and Special Agent Kohler that did the processing?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to show you a series of photographs, and I know this might not match up too easily, but just I'm going to do the photographs, and then we'll do the physical evidence separately, just so we're not going back and forth, okay?
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to show you what I marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit number 80. If you would take a look at that and tell me if you recognize that.
Yes, sir. That's the residence. As a matter of fact, the black vehicle there on the left side is my car.
All right. And of course, can you see, well, let me show you State's Exhibit number 81 for identification purposes. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir. Moved for a little bit farther down there, closer to the car, is getting a 3/4 view of the house.
And just for the record, does it have the house number on that?
Yes, sir, right there on the front post that you were just pointing to.
All right, so it's 15007, is that what that says?
Yes, sir.
All right, and you said you were on Mount Eaton Road?
Yes, sir.
All right, so in this first picture, just it shows the front of the house. The second one then shows us back toward the backyard. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So just to kind of keep getting perspective, I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 82 now. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir. We'd be moving further down the driveway, looking more around the back of the house and into the backyard.
All right. So see this area back here?
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
And why did you notice that at that time?
With this losing sunlight, we decided to move around the back, the outside of the house first, while we still had light to see what we could find. We started moving back, pushing through the side of the house, photographing everything as we went.
All right. And you had mentioned on your earlier testimony there that you were talking while you were waiting to other agents who were at other scenes that may have additional information to maybe assist you in your search of the house for potential irrelevant evidence. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
Was there anything that you learned from them that you were to look for or that might help in the investigation?
As I recall, we had spoken about possible bindings that were found on the victim's body.
All right. Now, were you aware, who's Ed Staley?
Ed Staley's another crime scene agent. He was one of the lead crime scene investigators for us in this.
And we actually have taken you a little bit out of order because Ed Staley was investigating another scene. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
And he was doing that, had done that a little earlier in the day?
He was more involved in this
We're going to step
investigation.
aside and take a break. We'll get you back into the courtroom right after this. Stay with us.
About the binding.
Boring. Ugh. Alright. This is where the trials get boring as hell. So, that was my little live stream of the day. I may come back later if it gets more exciting. But my back feels a little better now that I stretched it out. So yeah. So we'll see what happens. But let me look up that case that you're talking about. Hold on. Andre Cycle Perez. Investigators search a property in an area where they find new marine remains. This guy's real attractive. Investigators said they have reason to believe that the body is Suzanne Morpho, who was reported missing May 10th. Ultimately, there are a few families who will be told to remain. Oh, this looks good. Good catch, Val. I'll cover this later. So the husband might be innocent. I don't know. They said investigators said they have reason to believe one of the bodies is that of Suzanne Morpho. His name is Andre Psycho Barraz. I'm trying to get a bigger picture of him. Because this one's small. You're not going to be able to see it. You can't really see it. No, they're saying that she might be one of the bodies. But if it's true, that's huge. Then the husband really is innocent. Let me see what else I could find.
After investigators uncover human remains from at least 3 victims in southern Colorado. Andre Jordan Boras, that suspect, goes by the nickname Psycho. There are 2 dig sites in the small town of Los Sasos. It's in Conejos County, way down by the New Mexico border. CBS 4's Alan Janae on the story tonight, checking in from nearby Alamosa. Alan, those bodies have not yet been identified.
No, Jim, and I'm outside the police station right here in Alamosa right now. I just had a conversation with investigators a few minutes ago about those bodies, and they do tell me also that there are active searches going on right now across southern Colorado for this suspect. Now to the bodies. They have a forensic anthropologist working on identifying them, which may be a suggestion or a clue to us about the deterioration or the condition of those bodies. They have yet to say whether they're male or female, but 3 bodies found on 2 different properties. Let's show you video. Copter 4 was over that area earlier today in Los Sasos, which is about 25 minutes from where we are in Alamosa right now. And it was there where officers first executed a search warrant when they were looking for stolen property, stolen vehicles, and they found some human remains. Then on another property, more, and then they began a search there around the 14th. They were still out there working on this day. The man they're looking for, Andre Boras,
those teardrops mean he's murdered somebody.
6 years old with a nickname of Psycho, has a long police record, and that police find disconcerting. They believe he may be armed and dangerous.
When I say he's a danger to the community, I mean exactly that. He's a danger, and we really need assistance to get him apprehended as soon as possible.
Now, we do know that there are multiple people missing in southern Colorado, as there are in many areas. There is no clue as to the identities yet of these bodies that have been found. But I also, Jim, spoke with someone today who even went to high school with this suspect a number of years ago, saying, yeah, he was with a bad crowd, but wasn't necessarily bad to me. But right now, a lot of people in this town want him found, and want him found right away. In Alamosa, I'm Alan Janae, covering Colorado First.
Thank you, Alan.
Now, that looks good. I'll cover that later. I don't want to run too many
Today,
streams.
the Denver Public Schools is now telling parents.
Denver, Colorado schools all going remote again. See, but you know what the problem with this is as Americans and people that follow trials? We absolutely automatically go for the husband. People automatically assume the husband. And you know what? This husband may be totally innocent, as he claimed all along. People need to stop automatically thinking the husband did it, including the media. It's crazy. But I'll cover that tonight. So, all right, I'm going to shut down. I got some candles to make and send out, and that's it. I will see you guys later. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys tonight, and I'll cover that case tonight. Peace out, bean sprouts.